This is a deja vu story, and it's also the story of how I ended up writing paranormal romance. When I was 19, I had a very intense deja vu experience. I had a dream. I'd had dreams and told myself stories in my head, serializing at night. Did put myself to sleep about werewolves, and I had dreams where I would be inside animals or like flying with a bird, just kind of sitting inside their skull and seeing through their eyes. They were always really cool dreams that made me dreams where I changed shape or other people changed shape. But I had one real intense one at 19. In the dream, a real life friend of mine calls me and it's like, "Hey, I've got this person I want you to meet." And I was like, "Okay." And they were the description was kind of funky, but I was like, "Oh, like unusual people, let's go for it. Who knows?" So in the dream, I go out into the country, out by a river. Like, I love the woods, being outside, so not a strange part. But it was an abandoned and damaged grist mill that had like one of those water wheels, and kind of sketch, to put it mildly. But anyway, tra-la-la, tra, it's a dream, so I have no self-preservation in the dream. You'd think, but no, in real life I would not. Anyway, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. I go into the damaged structure, and lo and behold, here's this guy, and he is smoking. I mean, we just start stalking around each other in like this incredible primal response to each other, and it turns into shenanigans and adult fun. And against the wall, adult fun is happening. It's getting very, very intense. And in the dream, he starts to change. And I am so close to that bright and shiny moment that I want to get there. I'm totally focused on that, even though he's changing. And you'd think that would make me like totally disengage, but not in the dream. And right as I'm at the cusp of that perfection peak, and he opens my throat, so with his teeth. So I have the tiny death and the big death at the same time. And in the dream, it's super hot. It's like, ah! But the part that made it more than just like a weird kind of horror, erotic kind of mishmash is the very next day. I woke up, I literally woke up and rolled out of my bed and laid on the floor. I was wet with sweat. My heart was pumping. My panties needed to be changed. I mean, it was every emotion and chemical I had was cranked up as far as it could go. But I just laid on the floor like in recovery mode. Panic and fear and lust and this weird, super intense cocktail. Well, the day goes on, and it reaches about the time that the phone call happened in the dream. My friend calls. A friend of mine's coming into town. I'd like you to meet this guy. I think you'd like him. Exactly. Same words, same tone. I'm in the same place. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I tell him I had this really freaky dream, and I'm like, yeah, no thanks. But the conversation continues, and he's a nice guy. I still think he's a nice guy. I think this was just a weird dream on my part, or maybe some kind of warning. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe my imagination. I tend to have a crazy imagination. If you read my work, you totally understand what I mean. But so conversation continues, and he starts telling me about details about what he looks like, and it's the guy from the dream. I mean, it is the guy from the dream. Spooked me for days. I didn't even go see my friend for a little while because I was like, I want to make sure that guy is far out of town. But yeah, it stuck with me, that intense deja vu, that dream and that part of the dream repeating like a replay of the cameras or a film clip was just so intense. It just stuck in my brain. And the idea of what that meant. What if there were a whole other culture of people that could change, or not people, but beings and cultures and communities that could change, and what would that mean? And so I told stories to myself. And when I started writing again, I really wanted to go back to that world that had become so rich for me after that extremely intense dream. So there's a little tiny part of me that thinks maybe there is such a thing in the universe. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but it's enough that I feel like I can write it with a certain level of intensity. So I feel like my werebear stuff and the werewolf community, that's part of where it comes from. There are earlier childhood dreams, but that's definitely more in the Stephen King horror kind of realm. But I'll probably tell you that another day if you want. Thanks for listening.